Hey guys, some of you asked me to show a way to farm like red pearls or tickets on the Eggsterminator on a turn 1 clear. So this is going to be a speed clear on turn 1 for farming. Now, full disclaimer, this is unit specific, it is gear intensive. If you're not able to pull off the turn 1 OTK, just extend your clear to turns 2 or 3 or 4 and do a much easier, slower clear. Like, I've shown you budget videos. Just take like the budget guide and just add a ton of STMRs and you'll kill it in like 2 or 3 turns with a high-end team. The same exact concept of the budget guide. On the other hand, if you do have really powerful units like everyone's favorite Carton, you can do a turn 1 OTK and speed farm this. But this does require really powerful units. And before you ask, if you don't have Carton, Carton is a really big deal for turn 1 OTKs. He has the highest burst damage on global for turn 1 in the entire game. So, we're going to shift form LB with Sakura to do Thunder Amplify, and then Stat Buff and LB Buff. We're going to use Edward and Alphonse Elric to start off with a Water Imbue. That's going to amplify Tifa. Then we're going to swap to the Lightning Imbue. That's going to swap the whole party to Lightning, but keep that Water Amplify for Tifa. Esther is going to Stormbrand for the Imperil, Energizing for the Killers, and Bolting for the Break. Carton is going to Frenzy. Laura is going to Volatile, and Tifa is going to base form LB. It's important to use the base form. That's going to put up Fist Imperil for the whole party. It's also going to Imperil Water before her damage. So we're going to send Tifa first, and when we see the purple tornado, we're going to send our Bolting Strike Chainers. And that's going to cap that, and that should be the end of the boss on turn 1. There we go. So yeah, turn one farming, pretty simple. 1.3 basically. I think the boss has 1.1, so it's pretty repeatable. And I'll show you the breakdown in a moment, and then we'll get into the gear and all that. So there's our setup. As you see, Carton does enormous damage. Laura is just support chaining in a bigger break, and then Tifa caps as well. We're gonna do one more clear real quick just to see how quickly we can get that done. And then I will show you the gear and go over some potential unit swaps. But again, this is still a pretty tightly tuned clear. And yeah, so you got to keep that in mind. Anyway, let's see how quickly we can do this with reload, if Carton would ever stop his autocasting. So we just reload these guys, wait for all of us to finish. And then we send Tifa. We wait for the purple tornado. And then we send the rest, or you can just use the reload button. And there's our second clear. Yeah, and then you can go in here, use the reload button. See, that's the really cool thing about a turn 1 clear is you can literally do it with the repeat button. You do it one time, and then you just go in and push auto repeat with the same setup, and there you go. Here's the second damage breakdown. Variance. So Carton's usually dealing something like 6.5 to 7 or 6. Tifa's doing something like 4 to 4.5, and Laura's doing somewhere around 1, talking 100 millions. But as you can see here, this is the big reason why Carton is just about required for a turn 1 clear. I don't know if it's possible to turn 1 OTK this without Carton. Like I can already see the future. What if I don't have Carton? Who do I use instead? That is a tough question to answer, and the answer is probably go to turn 2. So there we go. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you the gear and all, and we'll talk about some potential unit swaps. Okay, so Sakura is here for 350 stat buff, 250 LB buff, and 45% Thunder Amplify. If you don't have her at EX2, again, that was kind of a big deal. You could use something like Sylvie, kind of, not really. She only does a single target 30 amplify. Who else even does big Thunder Amplifies on turn 1? Is there even anyone else? I don't know if there is. There's a bunch of 15%. Conch, we're getting 15% from Elric's. Sakura might be a requirement for a turn 1 clear for this specific strategy. You could also go with like a water team with Yoshikiri, and I think Wanderer's got a Yoshikiri video up for turn 1 clear, so that might be an option, but for my strategy, I think Sakura might be a requirement. Edward and Alfonsi Elric, they are replaceable. They just honestly provided a 15% water amp for Tifa. That's really it. They also imbue Thunder to the party, but that Thunder imbue is gettable all over the place. Lots of units have Thunder imbue. So if you don't have Alphonse Elric, you can just swap out those for someone to AoE imbue Thunder to the party, and then Tifa just won't have an Amplify. Or you could start Tifa in the shift form with an auto Amplify water item, and then go to the base form for the burst. That won't work for auto repeat, so that's not as good for a turn 1 clear, but it'll still be a turn 1 clear. It just won't work for auto repeat because you got to manually shift if you're using auto amps. But if you've got them, great. And you can maybe OTK even without a water amp on Tifa, potentially. She'd lose 15% damage. Esther is for 135 Thunder Imperil, 120 Machine and Stone Killer, and an 87% break. The reason that break is important is because Tifa goes first, and she's going before Laura, so she wants a better break than her own personal break, which is like 75 or 80%. 87 is, of course, better. That's what Esther does. If you don't have Esther, you could, again, like Yoshikiri and do like a big water amp with like a Machine Killer. And again, the reason I didn't want to use Yoshikiri is because Wanderer already has a great turn 1 OTK focused on Yoshikiri, and I didn't want to just, straight up do the same thing. So I wanted to make my own spin on it. So we're doing a Thunder version with Elrics and all that. Tifa is going to be she's going to go first because she puts up a Fist Imperil, and she also does the Water Imperil on her base form LB. And her base form LB is the same modifiers as shifted LB if you're doing it on turn 1. So Dragon Claw in the main hand, I've talked about this before. It's a good variance fist. Always put that in the main hand if you're dual wielding. Other than that, just LB damage versus machines and stone. There's her setup. Maxed on everything. 300, 300, 300, and there you go. Laura in the shift form is using a gun build with killers. Chaining, that's pretty much it. She's got leftover gear. She's mostly a support chainer, but she does do 100 million, so it is important. Maxed on everything, so there we go. And then Carton, big MVP here, shift form, obviously a double hand build versus machines and stone. There's his setup, the rain card, or the leave it to me card. 250 stone and 275 machine, and he carries the fight. So there it is. Hopefully this has been helpful. A lot of you have requested a turn 1 OTK farming guide. There it is. Can be done with just simple repeat over and over and over. Get your red pearls, get your green tickets, whatever you decide to get. Have fun with it. Turn 1 OTK, super doable. If you cannot turn 1 OTK, stretch out your clear to a turn 2. Go to turn 2, go to turn 3. At that point, just do like the budget run and add a bunch of STMRs and do it in 3 turns, and that'll be no problem at all. Anyway, see you guys next time.